Hello, welcome to Off the Cuff. My name is Ben Campbell. I am a personal coach specializing in social matters, a little bit of productivity stuff, mostly social matters. The format of this show is that I go through viewer submitted questions on discord.gg/self-improvement and answer them in a sort of off the cuff, unprepared format. I am joined by my friend and former colleague Anton Toya. Anton, say hello.
Hello guys, how's it going?
Yeah, without further ado, we'll just get cracking. There's a few questions in the forums there. Before we start as well, I'm just going to say I'm on the second day now of a fast, and I'm not feeling super hungry, but I am quite angry for some reason. So if I'm more aggressive with my answers than I might normally be, then I apologize. I'm going to try and keep it calm, but I don't know, I'm just in an angry mood. Dear Ben, I hope this message finds you in good spirits. Well, relatively. I am writing to seek your advice on overcoming social anxiety. Due to past negative experiences and my struggles with social interactions, I often feel anxious and uncomfortable around people. This anxiety has led me to avoid social situations, which has further isolated me and weakened my social skills. People frequently find me annoying, and I don't understand why. I worry there may be something inherently wrong or ugly inside of me that drives others away. This belief, combined with my social anxiety, makes it hard for me to engage with others. Additionally, I have a bad habit of gossiping, likely influenced by some of my relatives who were negative role models in this regard. I am committed to improving my social life, but need practical steps to gradually overcome this anxiety. Could you recommend strategies or techniques that help me manage and reduce my social anxiety? Yes. Additionally, are there any specific practices I can incorporate into my daily routine to build confidence in social situations? Also, yes. Your expertise and guidance would be immensely valuable to me as I work towards becoming more and more confident. It's a very formal. I like it. Your expertise and guidance would be immensely valuable to me as I work towards becoming more comfortable and confident in social interactions. Thank you for your support. Okay, it's a long question. I'm going to break it down into little pieces and address it bit by bit. I'm going to ignore the gossiping thing because we talked about that before. Maybe I'll address it at the end, but for now I'm just going to ignore that because I'm pretty sure this same person has asked a question about that in the past and I answered it. I'm writing to seek your advice on overcoming social anxiety. Due to past negative experiences and struggles with social interactions, I often feel anxious and uncomfortable around people. People find me annoying and I don't understand why. I worry there might be something inherently wrong or ugly inside of me. So first of all, the word inherent implies that this is something, and you understand this, but for people that are watching this, in your nature, it's something intrinsic to you. It's something that is just part of who you are. And who you are is a malleable, it may be the case, but who you are is a malleable thing. I don't think it's the case. It's very unlikely that there is something innate to you that is wrong about you. It's more likely something that you're doing or something that's coming out in your behavior. So I shouldn't say that it's definitely not something that is inherent to you. It's maybe something that's coming out in your behavior that's causing people to respond in this way to you or to find you annoying. And this is the same person that last week we talked about. Who said he's a hikikomori and watches a lot of anime and judges informs his social interactions based on the characteristics of the characters that he's watching. And so a lot of this dramatic and over the top behavior comes out in interactions, and that is annoying. People will find that annoying because you're not being authentic. You're putting on a character. You're behaving in a way that is over the top and unrealistic, and people will pick up on that and they'll either think you're fake or inauthentic, or it'll just annoy them for various reasons. People don't act like they do in the films and movies. And the advice that I gave you last week was to state, you can watch anime if you want, but start immersing yourself in real people, in real social situations, and getting to the point where you're calm down a bit and remove all of this stuff and try to go out into the world and not be performative with the way that you behave. There's never any reason to be performative with how you're interacting with people in your social situations. Try to be, and I know this is a difficult word based on your situation, but natural about it. Don't overthink how other people are perceiving you, and rather than trying to think how do I behave so that other people will like me, and think more in terms of how do I behave that is authentic to myself, and how do I behave to express my point of view, and how do I want to behave, how do I feel like behaving, and don't do things which aren't in alignment with that. And if you feel like you want to be one of these anime people, then it's a bit more difficult. You gotta untrain this part of you because people will find it annoying. So that's why, if you don't understand why, I worry there might be something inherently wrong or ugly inside of me. This isn't true. It's just something that's coming out in your behavior. This belief combined with my social anxiety makes it hard for me to engage with others. That's perfectly understandable. I'm committed to improving my social life, good, but I need practical steps to gradually overcome this anxiety. Could you recommend strategies or techniques that help me manage and reduce my social anxiety? And are there specific practices I can incorporate into my daily routine? Absolutely. This is what I do, basically. It's my most of my job is in the social aspect of things. It's my area of expertise, you could say. So as for daily practices, you want to make a daily habit of just going out and talking to people. And this will seem really weird to you at first, but like you could do it in sort of social situations or situations where it's normal to be social, like bars and clubs and places like that, or like go on event places and look for, I don't know specifically what you're into, but based on some of the other things you've said, like go to anime stuff, go to board game stuff. I don't know how big a city you live in or how much access you have to these people, but that's something you could do as well if you're looking for people that are more aligned and more compatible with you. But you don't need to for the purpose of this. For this purpose, all you need to do is go and talk to people. And you can literally just go up and say to people, hi, my name is X. I understand this is a little bit strange, but I'm looking to practice my social skills. I have social anxiety. I find I'm a bit weird about others, and I really want to change this. Do you mind having a 10-minute conversation with me just so I can practice some stuff? And you'd be surprised how often people are friendly with that. Like, obviously approach people that... I was going to say approach people that look friendly. I don't like stereotyping people, and often you really cannot judge. No, in fact, fuck all that. I'm going to ignore it. Just approach everybody and do this. And you'll see, like, some people will be like, no, fuck off. And some people will be like, yeah, I don't really have time for this. More people than you will expect will be like, yeah, okay, that seems reasonable. This seems fine. Let's do this. And this will be very scary for you at first, but over time, the level of anxiety that you experience will reduce. So anxiety is, we try and break down what anxiety is. It's essentially a stimulated feeling that you get that is usually accompanied by thoughts which are trying to dissuade you from something, or it's a feeling of, it's not quite fear, but it's like a feeling of excitement and anticipation at a potentially negative result. It's a state of heightened stimulation within your nervous system, essentially, and the kind of anxiety that you're experiencing, because you can reframe anxiety to excitement. It's basically the same thing, but the kind of anxiety that you're experiencing is the result of the fear that you feel about how people are going to respond to you, and the overthinking that you do when you're in social situations. So the way that you get over that is by facing it. You do things which sort of contradict the fears and contradict the negative ideas that you have about what might happen, right? So in your head, you're thinking, well, people don't like me, and this is going to go wrong, and that's going to go wrong. I'm going to go out, and I'm going to get laughed at, and all of this stuff, and that gives you a sense of anxiety. Even if those things are true, which they're not, doing this isn't going to kill you. Those things are not true, and if you go out and talk to people, as everybody has, like we run boot camps doing this sort of thing, we take people out into the street. I had a German client that I took out, and we did this exact exercise, like literally just walking up to people and saying, hey, let me have a 10-minute conversation with you. And he got like a couple of people's phone numbers, he made a friend, he got invited for like free flying lessons, because he spoke to a guy that was a pilot, and he's like, yeah, I'll take you up in a plane sometime and teach you how to fly a plane. The guy's like, what the fuck? And this was day one of just going out and talking to random people in I think we were in Berlin at the time. So yeah, specific practices, daily routine, make a habit of going out every day and just talking to a few people, like having conversations, doing whatever. From there, you can step things up and you can start like pick out people that you don't start by doing this. Just talk to anybody and everybody. And a lot of people will reject you, but you'll find that these rejections are not, mean. Most of it, like, you will get the occasional person that's like, oh, fuck off, but it doesn't matter. Most people are just gonna be like, I'm not interested, whatever, and they're not going to be thinking about you. People don't think about you as much as you think you think they do. So if you just walk up to people and, hi, how's it going, let's have a conversation, do that for a while, and then once you get better at this sort of stuff, I mean, from this process you may even make a few friends. You probably will, but from that point, you can then start targeting and building a framework of like, well, what kind of friends do I want in my life, and what kind of social life do I want, and what are my interests, and are there people with similar interests to me, and where can I find those people? And then take this skill set that you have of just walking up and talking to people and go and do that in those situations. And there's other things that you can do, like playing the mayor, which we've talked about before, where you go to a bar or a club, for example, somewhere that you can hear people talk, but there's a lot of people that are out there having a drink, they're in their own group, whatever, and you go there alone or with a friend, but someone that will encourage you rather than holding you back. And you just go to everybody in the room and you go, hi, I'm X, how you doing? Hi, I'm X, how you doing? Enjoying your night? Fantastic, great. And you just do this with everybody in the room. And it gets you into this like open, free, social, because the thing that people think about social situations is I can't do that, or this is weird, or people aren't going to like me, or all of this bullshit. And even if those things were true, which they're not, it doesn't matter. It's not going to kill you. It doesn't affect you negatively at all. There's millions of billions of people in the world. You can go, oh, it's an exaggeration. There's billions of people in the world. You can just go somewhere else and talk to other people. No matter what you're doing or who you are or what you want, there are people that are going to mingle with you, and there's people that are not. Your job is just to find those people. So ignore all of that anxiety, ignore all of that bullshit, and just go out and talk to people. And you'll get over your anxiety. You'll find that this practice helps you with the things that you're talking about, and you will develop further social skills that will help you into the future. That was a massively rambly answer, but I hope that helps. Also, if you want like direct coaching and an actual framework put together, we have live courses. We have online, like there's these live calls, but there's also a 1 hour after this coaching access level. You get a what's it called, a progress thread that you can write all your stuff down in. So if you want coaching, take coaching, but all you need to do is just go and talk to more people and try to get out of your own head and just act as, I mean, natural is a confusing word to people when they're new to this, but act in as unperformative a way as you can. So don't be performative with your actions. Don't be performative with your behaviors. Just say things as you feel like saying them. Do things as you feel like doing them. And then you will be in more congruence from internal to external, and people will think you are less weird and less annoying. Is there anything you feel like I've missed or I should add to that, Monsieur Rampon?
That was a great answer.
Bit rambly, but I think I covered everything.
Yeah, you did. It's just like getting into the habit of talking to strangers. And this is like, even you're allowed to fuck it up like the first 10 times, in my opinion. But then just if you keep on doing it, it will be more normal and natural for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, and this idea that you can't do this is just anxiety. Like everybody has that. Oh, like you'll come up with loads of reasons as to why you shouldn't be doing this. But my response to that is you've never done any of this, and so you can't trust the reasons in your own head. Where are they coming from? They're coming from anxiety. Your ego doesn't want you to change. It doesn't want you to do, like, if you have social anxiety, it's very difficult for you to get over the idea that you can just go and talk to people and go and say hi to people, because the anxiety conquers it. But the only way to get over the anxiety is to take action in order to change your beliefs and change the results that you get, which then change your beliefs.
Exactly. It's the fear of the unknown. And the ego is so good at giving you a very powerful feeling and ideas of not to do it. But you just have to put your trust in these words that you just spoke, because you're somebody who did it so many times and you already know the outcome of this. So just trust this and go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Another question from the same person. I'm writing to ask for your guidance on building and maintaining meaningful long-term relationships. Despite my efforts, the few relationships I manage to form often do not last long. People seem to lose interest in me quickly, and I struggle to understand why. So this is the same person that says they're autistic and so maybe has trouble understanding others. I am eager to learn how to create and sustain meaningful connections. Could you please provide advice on how to approach building relationships in a way that fosters longer-term bonds? Are there any specific habits or techniques that I should develop to ensure my relationships are both rewarding and lasting? Yes, absolutely. And I have posts on this in the social forum. I think it's called... I have posts on each of these things in the social forum, but essentially you're saying you're using the word relationship, so I feel like you're talking about friendships as well here, or mainly friendships. So the process is the same whether it's a romantic relationship or a friendship, so I'm just going to go through the like foundational stuff that I teach on this. So a good relationship, whether it be a friendship or a romantic relationship, is built upon three aspects, and these are chemistry, compatibility, and connection. And the chemistry is the first thing that you experience. It's the good feeling that you have around people. This is usually more prevalent in romantic stuff, but it happens with friends as well. And some part of that is literally chemistry, where it's the pheromonal thing, and basically your immune system's going, this person has things that we need, and we complete each other on like a biological level. And then part of it's just like their physical attraction, the things that you like and don't like, and all of this stuff. And so that makes up the chemistry. It's that initial clicky, like, this is good feeling that you get around people. And that's something that you can't really control. Although it can come and go depending on some of these other factors. The second one is compatibility. And this is the level with which two things can work together without causing problems. So the more compatible with someone you are, the more aligned your personalities are, the more aligned the things that you want are. If it's a friendship or relationship or whatever, you'll have similar goals for friendship and relationship. You'll have similar ideas of what these things mean and how it can work together in that way. And this doesn't mean that you have to be the same kind of people or like the same kind of things. It just means that your likes and dislikes and personality traits and all these things have to be complementary. So they work together well. They don't clash, right? And then connection, which is the thing that you're mainly asking about, and this is probably the most important part, is the degree to which you feel connected to each other. And this is created by a shared sense of understanding. So if I understand how you feel and think about things, and you understand how I feel and think about things, and we've been through like emotional experiences together, we're going to feel connected. A bond starts to form. You kind of need to have the other two as well for that bond to really form, but connection comes as a result of shared emotional experience, essentially. It's why soldiers go to war together, and just complete strangers, and they come back feeling bonded like brothers. They've been through an intense emotional experience together. And this can be harder if you are autistic and you have trouble like gauging people's emotions and stuff, but it doesn't make it impossible. You just need to be more clear with people about, okay, this is how I interpret this, and can you tell me how you're feeling or how you're responding right now, or just be more verbal with people about these things. And so things that you can do to build connection. Again, I have posts all about this that go into this in much greater detail than I can on a live rambly format, but essentially, so the example I always like to use is the Barbie example. It's like you talk to a girl and she says, you're like, what, do you have any hobbies? And she goes, yes, I like to collect Barbies. Most people will go, okay, that's cool, sure. What did you study in university? And they'll just keep asking surface level questions. To get on a deeper level with people, you want to ask emotionally rooted questions. So this can be things like, what are you passionate about? Or how do you feel about that? Or you could even say, what is the emotional root of that for you? What motivates you to feel like that and do that? You know? So like, I do this as a job. Oh, why? What motivates you to do that? How does that make you feel? Or I have this hobby. Why? How does that make you feel? So going back to the Barbie example, she says, I like to collect Barbies. And you go, that's really weird. I've never heard that before. Not judging, but why? Would you mind telling me? Like, there's obviously some reason that you do that. What's the purpose? What's the reason for you collecting Barbies? And if she's bad at conversation, she might just say, I like it, you know? And some people are just like that. You can't always force a good two-way conversation. But she's emotionally intelligent and has her reasons well put together. She'll go, well, maybe it's, I had a really good relationship with my grandfather when I was younger, and every birthday he used to bring me a new Barbie doll. And he died a few years ago, and I keep buying them because it makes me feel connected to him. He was a really important role model in my life. There you go. You found some emotional root to something. They're now talking about their emotions. So you can now either relate to that, or just relate to it, but it doesn't have to be in a positive way. So maybe you had a terrible relationship with your grandparents. Doesn't matter. Share that. So you go, oh, or I mean, you could talk a little bit more about that first, and how was your relationship with your grandfather? Why was he such a role model? And then you could share your experience of that thing. So I loved my grandparents as well, and I had this experience, or I really hated my grandparents, and this is the reason why. We never really were connected, but I maybe wish we were a little bit more. And so you're basically finding things finding out how they feel about things and relating how you feel about things. And then this forms a connection because you have a shared understanding with each other. And I think the reason that this is like, When we were evolving, I suppose that people would isolate into different tribes and different groups and collectivize, and humans would collectivize and work with each other on different things. You can't always trust people immediately, especially in survival situations where like you need to have people to have your back. And so that initial connection point isn't always there between people. Sometimes it is, depending on the level of chemistry, whatever. But as you go through life with someone and as you share emotional experiences, especially like the war example that I gave with soldiers go away and they have this intense emotional experience, it's not only a sense of understanding, but it's trust that builds. Because the more that you understand a person, the more that you can trust them, and the more that you feel like, okay, I can be safe around this person. And the way that you speed that up is also by being vulnerable yourself, and you express healthy vulnerability. So you can, maybe you've had negative emotional experiences and they're talking about things and you go, wow, this is how I feel about this, and this is this experience that happened to. And don't trauma dump on people, but be willing and open to share your feelings, and that will help them open up. It'll make them more trusting around you. They'll be like, oh, well, if they're sharing things, I can share things. And then you connect with people much faster. And again, the posts that I wrote about this, I'm much better written than I am spoken. So if you go into the Discord, discord.gg/self-improvements, in the emotional forum, in the social forum section, there's a set of posts all about that. They are called, it's after the approaching stuff. It's how to connect in conversation, compatibility and authenticity, and know what you want. And those all cover compatibility and connection and chemistry, and how to find them, how to cultivate them, how to connect with people, essentially, and have better relationships, better friendships, more longer lasting things. So I hope that answers your question. Is there anything you want to add, Anton?
Yeah, the why question is such an awesome thing, and I realized since I've been working with you, I've asked this question to so many people, and it for sure strengthened my relationships with people, and I have like a way deeper understanding on why people do things.
Yeah, because one of the most common mistakes, especially in dating, is that guys they'll be talking to someone and they'll just keep asking questions, but like shallow, surface level questions. They're like, well, why are my conversations bad? And why can't I get anywhere with anybody? And why can't I connect with this person? It's like, because you're interviewing them at this, you're interrogating them. It's like, oh yeah, what do you do for work? Where do you study? Why would you? It's like you're only breaching the surface level. You're not actually having a conversation. You're conducting an interview. And so the way that you get past that is to try and find emotional roots of things. And this gets easier over time as you become a better conversationalist. And you actually, like, one of the most important things is to genuinely be curious about people. Like, develop an interest in other human beings and what they're doing and how they feel about things. And once you cultivate this, it's actually like talking to people becomes a lot more fun as well, because you're like, each unique person is their own thing with their own thoughts and feelings, and this seems obvious, but it's really powerful to think this way. You're like, how much curiosity can I have for, because people love talking about themselves as well. It's like, how much curiosity can I have for this person? How much can I learn about them? And this is also part of the process of like filtering people and finding compatibility, which again I talk about in those posts. It's like, how much curiosity can I have for this person? How much can I learn about them? And then that'll make them feel bonded to you as well. I don't know where I was going.
And I notice also, like, if you ask this question, that they also replicate. And it's such like a more cooler conversation. Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like, I've had people come to me before and they're like, I feel like I'm doing everything right, but my conversation with this girl just didn't go well, and this person the conversation was stale. I'm like, it's not always you. Like, it takes two to tango. There are two people in a conversation, and they have to invest as well. And honestly, I've been on dates and I've been out with people that I've just met, and it's like you can ask, like, oh, why? You can ask a more specific question, like, how does that make you feel, and blah 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 blah. Sometimes I will just literally go, why? And that's all I'll say. I'll just say why, and I'll let them keep talking or filling the gaps. Or if there's a break in conversation, it's like a lot of guys, and again, specifically in dating and specifically getting into these things, a lot of guys will think, oh, well, I have to keep the conversation going, otherwise I'm boring and this and that. And this is all, again, it's performative. It's trying to make other people like you rather than looking for compatibility in people and being comfortable in your own shell, which is, again, I can teach you a lot of this stuff, all of this stuff. Like, sometimes I'll be having conversations and there will be like a pause or a silence, and I will not make any effort to fill in the gaps. It's like, I've been talking for the past half hour. I know I'm good at talking. I know I can fill a conversation, right? It's your turn. And I won't say that, but I'll just sit and relax and look at them, and they'll go, what are you looking at? And I'm just, nothing.
And then a few seconds will pass and it'll be uncomfortable. And what's happening in their head is they're going, shit, find something to like. They're not going, oh, this guy's really boring. I mean, if you're on a date with a really shitty person, they might be thinking that if they're just used to guys doing everything for them or whatever. But 9 times out of 10, they're thinking in their head, they're like, shit, I better find something to fill it. They're not thinking you're boring. They're thinking, shit, this is an awkward silence. I'm fucking this up. And so they'll then come up with things and start talking. It's like it takes two to tango. And sometimes people are just not good conversationalists, or they don't have anything interesting to offer, and that's fine. Sometimes it's going to be like that, and you just got to let it go. They're just not compatible with you. It's no big deal.
Also, if I think about, like, in my environment, who are the most socially skilled people, they all have the same trait, which is they are genuine, super curious about who you are as a person, because it makes you feel such an interesting person, and they really care about you, and that's why you want to say stuff, and it's a much cooler conversation.
Yeah, the best conversationalists, and I mean, I struggle with this because I like to dominate conversation. Like, even now I'm interrupting you, but I like to dominate conversations a lot, and I find I talk a lot about different things, but I do think that when it's important, I am also a good listener. Like when someone's saying something, you have my full fucking attention if you're sitting in front of me. I'm not looking at my phone or like, you have my full attention, and I'm going to listen for as long as possible and give you as best answer as I can. And the best conversationalists, interestingly, as you say, are the people that know how to listen the best. It's like, they're not like, don't be thinking about what you're next going to say. Be truly thinking and considering the things that are coming out of that person's mouth. Like, your job is not to respond to things and to have something interesting to say. Your job is to have a conversation with somebody and engage in that mutual thing. And if you're just thinking about, oh, what am I going to say next? Like, you're not really paying attention. Like, listening is not just something that you do passively. It's an active skill. And especially now in the era of fucking TikTok and shortened attention spans and stuff, I think it's something that people are becoming a lot worse at, and it's one of the reasons that social situations are becoming harder for people.
They also always like fall back on these questions. Like, if you see them the next day, they remember what the conversation was about, and they will ask you about, hey, how did that go? You know, like they really care about you.
Yeah.
Also,
you're like, I've been doing this recently. How they come back the next week or whatever, and how's this going for you? You're like, oh shit, this person actually gives a shit about me.
Yeah, and that's how you make friends. And they have the people that have these traits. They have so many friends. Everybody likes them, and then it's like very easy to make new friends because they will do a lot for you.
Yeah.
Also, the person in the question, I would like give a tip, which is also ask yourself, like, where would you meet people like yourself? Like, if he likes anime, go to places with anime and try to make connections there. It's going to be way easier. Because, for example, like now I'm doing Muay Thai here in Thailand. For me, it's the easiest thing to make friends because we're all on the same thing. We all want the same thing. We understand each other so good, and we go through so many emotions through training.
100%.
So we make connections so easily here.
Yeah.
Just go to warmer environments.
It is interesting as well that if you share one trait with a person or you share one common interest, it's often surprising how many other shared interests you also have, even niche things you wouldn't necessarily expect.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, the post that covers this is called "Know What You Want," and it's kind of more relationship focused, but it's the same thing for friendships as well. You essentially build a list. You build like a marketing avatar of the kind of person that you want to meet, and you could do this with your relationships. You can do this with your friendships. You can do this with yourself and be like, what kind of person do I want to be? And you basically come up with a list of qualities and be as specific about it as you care to be. And then you divide these into like must-haves, nice-to-haves, deal-breakers, and things you just don't care about, really. And you basically design the person that you want to be friends with. You design the relationship that you want to have. You design the person that you want to be. And then you start moving towards that. If it's yourself, you start embodying those thoughts and behaviors and characteristics. I'm writing posts on these at the moment. I'm finishing up the behavioral forum, which is all about like aligning your thinking with your actions and becoming the person that you want to be and changing yourself internally. And then for the external stuff, like the friendships and relationships, you go, okay, first of all, am I in alignment with these people? Because and we've talked about this in the past about people being like the autistic German guy, like, I want the girl that goes out to clubs. It's like, do you actually want that girl? Are you actually compatible with that? Or do you want that because of the image it represents and the envy that you have for the kind of people that sleep with those women? You know, it's a very different thing. And so you have to examine your own actual wants and needs rather than, and you learn this over time as well. So like you come up with this list and then you start looking for those people. And so you go, okay, where does this person go? What do they do? What, like, where will I find this person? And then you go there and you start talking to those people and you make those friends and you have those relationships. And over time, you learn all the things that I was just talking about. Like, okay, I thought I liked this, but actually I don't. Or I thought this was a horrible negative thing, but I dated someone with this quality and now I really like her. I had a friend that did this thing and is more active than me. And I thought being a indoor person that I wouldn't like that. But it turns out that this person motivates me to go out and do things and experience things that I never had. And so I actually like that quality. And so your list refines over time. And the better you get at this and the more you do it and the more people that you meet and the more people that you date and all this stuff, that it eventually refines until you're absolutely certain of who you are, who you want to be friends with and who you want to have relationships with. And then you can nail down all of these aspects of your life. Because not only do you have the experience necessary to know what you want, you have the experience necessary to get it at that point because you've gone through all this practice. And it's a really powerful thing. It's like social matters are something that are innate to people. And I think if you like leave people alone in a certain situation, they will naturally learn these things. But we've become, we've birthed ourselves into a reality where we don't really need to interact with other people as much. And so these things don't come naturally to us anymore. But like anything else, it's a skill. It's like if you want to get better at social stuff, do more social stuff. Go out and meet more people. Go out and talk to women. Go out and talk to men. Go out and talk to fucking whoever you want. You know, just go and immerse yourself in social things and you will naturally get better at it. But the anxiety and the negative experiences we have tell us, oh, I can't do that and I need to shy away and this, and it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's all in your head. You can have what you want. You can have the relationships that you want. You can have the friendships that you want. All of it can be yours if you just take action towards it and overcome your fears. And that's everything that we teach, or everything that we teach in the social matters. Yeah. Okay.
I think it's the most important thing in life. Social matters.
Absolutely.
If you don't master social skills.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, I'll go on.
Yeah, it's the case. It's people are like, oh, well, I'm more business focused, or I'm more focused on this, or I'm more focused on that, and it's like everything that you have in life is built upon other people as well. Like we're inherently social creatures. We need social connections. Everything we do is because and for and by other people. Everything. Like we're effectively a hive mind, even though we feel like we're individuals. You know, you can't do anything in life without cooperation. And honestly, the times where I've had the most money and the times where I've had the most fun and even business success and all these things, you can't, like, 2 + 2 = 5. The compounding effects you get from working with other people are unbelievable. You cannot go through life alone, or you can, but you'll do it at a far slower, far unhappier rate. And even when it comes to business and money and things like that, it's like the power of networking can't be understated. You are the result of the people around you, not only, but when it comes to success and financial matters and business matters, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. If you know billionaires, you're going to end up being a fucking billionaire. If you know the right people, like you are the sum of the people around you, but because your behaviors become informed by those people as well, and because they have the necessary connections. It's like the 6 degrees of separation or whatever. You're no more than 6 mutual contacts away from anybody in the world. I don't know if that number is exactly accurate, but it's definitely close. Like, let's say 10. You're no more than 10 mutual, just because of the power of exponentials. You're no more than 10 mutual connections away from anybody in the world. So you know someone who knows 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 anybody you want, right? And if you get really fucking good at networking, you can meet those people. It's like I'm in this industry. I'm in the coaching field. I'm in the personal development industry, and through we've done. I used to work for a company that was bigger than my current one is, obviously, and I was coaching all over Europe. I've flown all over the world for events and stuff like that. I've worked with a guy that, or the company, we worked with a guy who was I shared an apartment with him even, but he was try to find the word. He was one of Tony Robbins' coaches. I know a guy who's a specialist in detox stuff, and that's his whole thing. It's all about like purifying the body. And he knows like MMA fighters, he knows Hamza personally, he knows Iman Gaji, like all of these people that are in this industry are connections that are out there just because of people that I've met by being sociable and hanging around people in my industry and in the thing that I'm interested in. All of these connections exist. I'm not trying to take advantage of these connections because I don't want to be that guy that comes and be like, hey, give me your audience, you know? But eventually when I reach a certain point with what I'm doing at the moment, those connections are there. And it's all just from knowing certain people. So it's not who you know. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Networking is so fucking important. And yeah, everything in your life is made better by the social connections, the relationships that you have. Like if you have good women in your life as well, it's like not only are you not worried about like being lovable and all of this shit, but it's like you're getting your needs met on an emotional level and a physical level with them. And you're good friends in your life, you're getting it, like you can be vulnerable around your good friends and you can travel and you have people that have your back and things and support you. And Lord knows Anton's been one of the most supportive people in my life recently. And it's like knowing the right people is so fucking important. Yeah. And you are defined by the people around you.
Correct. Also, like life has no meaning without people. If you can't share your wins or losses with people,
yeah, then who's it all for?
Why are you even alive? Exactly.
Yeah. We have another question if we want to move on. Same person again. He posted 4 or 5, which is helpful. I am writing to you in the hope that you can provide me with guidance on a deeply troubling issue I face. I have a very hard time letting go of bad social situations, and these experiences have a significant impact on my mental health and emotional well-being. There have been instances where I have done things in public that were extremely embarrassing, such as getting into arguments on busy streets. These situations feel traumatic to me, not just because of the arguments themselves, but because of the many people who witnessed them. The idea that those people remember my face and judge me for those moments fills me with a profound sense of shame and anxiety. This shame has made it difficult for me to move on and has even affected my sleep. I feel trapped in my own head, constantly reflecting on these bad memories, and it's hard to escape this cycle of negative thinking. Because of this, I often prefer not to leave my house, fearing that people will look at me oddly or with disgust. I know that first impressions count, and I am haunted by the belief that my first impressions, and perhaps all impressions, are overwhelmingly negative. I hate the idea that people might only remember me for my worst moments. This fear of judgment and the belief that people will always see me as weird or odd have severely limited my ability to engage in social activities and live a fulfilling life. Could you please offer me advice on how to cope with and move past these traumatic social experiences? How can I stop being so consumed by the fear of judgment and learn to see myself in a more positive light? Are there strategies or practices that can help me let go of these bad memories and rebuild my confidence? Yes. So even looking at like PTSD and trauma and things like this, the where do I want to start with it? Because I have an answer forming. I just need to figure out where I want to start with it. So when I take people out on boot camps, the 2-day live course that I do that is essentially deliberately doing very embarrassing things in the street, like picking your nose in front of people and all of this shit, or lying down in the busy sidewalk and forcing people to walk around you and stuff. The purpose of doing these things is to teach you that the things that you do don't really matter to other people. People will forget, people will ignore you, all of this. Like when we were in Berlin, I had the 2 guys lying down on the sidewalk and people were walking around them, and the police walked past. And one of the 2 guys had a very specific fear about like authority figures and police and stuff like that because he'd had a bad experience in the past. He had a traumatic experience even. And they just walked past. They didn't give a single fuck. They're just like, we have better things to do than deal with this, you know? So they just walked. They probably weren't even thinking this was something they needed to deal with. They just walked straight past the cops. And that changed the belief in that guy's head. It removed some of that trauma from his thing of like authority figures. He's like, oh, I'm safe around these people, right? So trauma and PTSD and things like this are not so much caused by the events that happen themselves as much as they are how we respond to and internalize these events. So if you have a negative emotional experience, if you're good at dealing with these negative emotional experiences, and I'm not saying that if you can't do this, like there's something wrong with you or whatever, it's a skill or it's a understanding and a skill. if you have a traumatic or a negative emotional experience, if you deal with that in a healthy way and you allow it to process properly, and you have healthy mindsets around this, you can then you can face it and integrate it into who you are as a strengthened characteristic. Like it's that whole what doesn't kill you makes you stronger thing. And what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but not immediately. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger once you heal it, right? So you have a negative experience. You have negative thoughts and expectations and beliefs and stuff because of this experience. You work through that and heal it and integrate it and teach yourself a lesson as a result of that negative experience, and you become a better person because of it. So the things that you're experiencing, the anxiety and the trauma and all of this stuff, they are not caused by the event themselves. They are caused by your interpretation of the event. So you have a belief, you have a thought structure, you have a subconscious pattern that makes you think a certain way about how other people feel when you do these things, right? The event happens, you get a result, and you perceive that result as more negative and hang on to the implications of that result because of your belief system. And I'm working on a post at the moment. It's in drafts at the moment. It's called Change Your Mind, Change Your Life. And it goes through the cyclical pattern of thoughts, behaviors, and results, or beliefs, behaviors, and results, the mental, the physical, and the result, and how these things spiral in and inform each other. So the way that you change this is by changing the way that you think about these things. So the reason that the clients will come to me and do things that are more embarrassing and more scary than the shit that you're doing that's keeping you up at night is because they're in a safe environment with me where I'm telling them like this stuff doesn't matter, you're going to learn this, like don't worry about it. And they go through embarrassing, potentially traumatic things, but the trauma doesn't sit and they don't feel embarrassed. Instead, it liberates them and it makes them feel free, and it makes them realize, oh, people don't care. Right? And I can do embarrassing things in the street and nothing bad will actually happen to me because they feel safe and they internalize that belief. And then that changes the way that they think about everything. And that also changes the results that they get. So I'm going to get a little bit like woo-woo here, but I believe that we're all connected on some mental level. And I believe that the energy that you put off dictates how people treat you. And I've experienced this and you could say this is a pragmatic thing as well. Like you could completely ground this and ignore the spiritual side of it and just say that the way that you behave, people pick up on subconsciously on like your micro patterns of expression and stuff, and they will respond and treat you differently as a result of their social conditioning, right? That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is you are literally giving off an energy which affects how people feel about you. So if you think that what you're doing is wrong, other people are more like either way, whether it's pragmatic or spiritual, if you think that what you're doing is wrong, people are more likely to perceive it as such and treat you as such. If you think that you're being embarrassing, people are more likely to perceive it as such and treat you as such. If you are completely okay with what you're doing, other people will treat it as if it's fine as well, right? It's really weird how this works. But the way that you fix this and move past all of this shit is, first of all, to let it go. Like you need to let go of all of this stuff and find the part of your identity that feels threatened by it, right? So some part of you, if this is keeping you up, if this is like really torturing you, like embarrassing stuff that you've done in the past, it's because some part of you feels like it means there's something wrong with you, or that something bad is going to happen to you as a result of these things. And this is something that you have to let go. And you do this by facing it and working through it and trying to do so in a safe environment and empowering yourself and changing the belief system that you have that tells you that the things that I've done. Like everybody goes through embarrassing things. Everybody does shit that they shouldn't do. God, I've got a million embarrassing stories I could tell you, right? If you fundamentally realize that other people let things go far quicker than you do in this case, so like if you do something embarrassing in the street, all of those people who might have been like watching, first of all, probably wouldn't even recognize you if you went and said hello to them the next day, right? Like how many times have you seen something go down in public where you're like, oh, that's fucking weird, or this guy? And first of all, even like, yeah, you're thinking in the moment, oh, that's embarrassing, or that's this, or whatever. How much do you actually care, right? And then the other part is, if you saw that person again, I mean, it depends on how unique that person is, I suppose. Like, if it's some crazy fucking homeless guy with a peacock feather headdress and stuff, like, you're going to recognize them, right? But for the average person, you forget faces like that. It's whatever. Even if you went up the net, like, I've been on boot camps where it's like, we've gone and done something embarrassing the first day, and then the next day walked up, and because that thing was really embarrassing, it stuck in that person's head. But some of the stuff that you're talking about is nowhere near as intense as you think it is. Most people will forget after a short period of time. And even if they don't, they're not really remembering you in a super negative way. Like, I've done embarrassing stuff and then gone up the next day and they're like, oh, you're the guy that did the thing. And I'm like, yeah, let me tell you why. And they're like, oh, that's cool. You know, it's all about your perception. It's your mindset, your framework for things that is affecting you. It's not the events themselves. And I'll use a football analogy. I don't know if you care about football. I really don't, but it's a good analogy. Football game. 2 teams are playing. One of them wins, one of them loses. Half the crowd is elated and the other half's angry and disappointed. The events of the game are neither good nor bad. But the mindset of the people projected onto it makes it so. And in their mind, oh, my team lost. I'm going to go and fucking drink in the pub and get angry and fight some people, right? The other team are like, yeah, we won. We're the best. Woo! It's all in their head. So that this prolonged effect that you're experiencing, this trauma, this anxiety, this keeping you up at night, it's in your head. The events themselves are not positive or negative. Right? The events themselves are whatever. You did an action, a thing happened, a result came. It's how you believe is how you filter that result, and then that informs again. So the results are informing your thoughts, and then your thoughts are informing your actions are informing the results, and it's a big fucking spiral. And you change this by targeting both. So you change the way that you act, right? And you change the way that you think and believe. And the thinking and believing is the most important thing. Everything starts in the mind. So you target that and you go, how am I thinking right now? I don't like how I'm thinking right now. I consciously deny these thoughts. I deny this thought. I banish this thought. I reject that belief, right? Use affirmative statements because negatives don't really work. Like, you can't say, no, don't think that, because it's like saying, no, don't think of a pink elephant. You're immediately thinking of a pink elephant. So you need to use affirmative things like banish, deny, reject that are pushing these thoughts away from you in your mind, and then replace them with things that you will to be true. So it's like for you, you could start with, let me read your thing again. Like, even if you feel like the things you're doing are genuinely embarrassing, it's like, people will forget about, like, people do not care about me as much as I think they do. And that's a good thing. Like, that could sound really harsh, but it's a good thing, because you can find people that do care, and the average person, like strangers, do not give a fuck about you, and they never will. And that's great, because it allows you to be free from this. So internalizing the belief that people don't give a fuck about me, but in a positive way. The things that I do don't really matter to other people unless it has a direct effect on their life. And I am free to be who I want. I can let this go, and just repeat these things in your head. It's like, the things I do don't matter. I'm not as embarrassing as I think. I let this go. I let this go. I let this go, and allow yourself to relax. And as you do this in conjunction with the other stuff, like going out and talking to people and putting yourself in more embarrassing situations, and realizing that, like, because what's the fear? The fear is that people are not going to like you. Why is that fear bad? It's because if people don't like you, you're ostracized from society. Right now, you don't have good friends and relationships. By going through this process and getting better in social situations and becoming more congruent and stripping away the anime character mask and all of this bullshit, you'll get to the point where maybe it'll take a week, maybe it'll take 6 months, maybe it'll take 2 years. I don't know. Everybody progresses at a different rate. But you will get to the point, 100%, if you follow my advice, I guarantee results. I've never had a single person actually implement my advice and not get the results that I tell them they will. 100% of the time. Because it's like, if I go and jump off the cliff, I'm not going to fly. I'm going to fucking fall. It's A equals B. You do this stuff, you get these results, right? So the more that you do this, you will end up with good friendships and good relationships and people around you that are affirming a positive version of who you are, especially if you change that internal mindset part of it. And you'll get to the point where you don't give a fuck what other people think about you, because you realize there's a million people out there, right? And you can go and meet as many of them as you want. And some people are going to like you. Some people are going to hate you. You're going to embarrass yourself. You're going to elate yourself. You're going to look like a fucking idiot to some people, and you're going to look like a king to others. And it doesn't matter. What matters is that you have good people around you. And all of this stuff at the end of the day is bullshit. It's irrelevant. People forget. Everything moves on. The ever marching, ceaseless time of I'm rambling now, but everything keeps moving forward and things get lost in the past, and it's great. It's fine. You can let all of this go. Let it all go. Because like all of this stuff that you're saying is affecting you is not the external, it's the internal. So you need to change that. Yeah. And that post, I don't think you are a full member. I don't think you're paying, but that post that I'm talking about, that's all about this stuff, like changing the mental in order to change the other two, it's in the review section at the moment. It's going to come out probably in a couple of days. It's going to be one of the free posts. So if you go to the free stuff section in a couple of days, you can read that and it'll give you more insight on the things that I'm talking about. I hope that's helpful. You want to weigh in, Anton?
It basically comes down to which thoughts you identify with, correct?
Yeah. So yeah, going back to that post, there's an analogy in there called, I call it the bus stop example. And I keep saying I need to come up with a better analogy, but the more that I repeat this one, the more that I like it, even though it's kind of goofy. So think of your
It's great.
Good. Okay, there you go. I think it's helpful. I think there are better analogies, but this one is helpful. So think of your mind like a bus stop or a bus station or a bus shelter, somewhere that buses stop, right? All day, every day, there's thoughts going through your head, and these are like the bus stops. You are not the thoughts. You're the person sitting at the bus stop. So you're not the things that are in your head. You are the observer of those things, right? And those thoughts that come through are the result of subconscious processes and like your experiences and your environment and things that other people have told you. And if you want to get on a more spiritual level, you're like a fucking antenna receiver for the people around you as well. So if like, I'm sure you've walked into a room and someone's really angry, and then you start feeling angry, and it's like, what's going on here? You know, like I feel like we pick up on a lot of this stuff. So your thoughts are not you. They're just things in your head, right? And if you practice like meditation, for example, and start to like hone your focus and pay attention to your thoughts from an external perspective and start to, more internal, I guess, and develop a sense of what's called meta-awareness, which is like the awareness of your own awareness. So you pull yourself outside of your reactions and thoughts and all of this stuff, and you focus your point of awareness as just an observer. Like you don't judge, you don't rationalize, like all of the stuff that's flowing through your head, you're just observing it, right? If you practice this for a while, you separate yourself from your thoughts. Because the buses, going back to the bus stop analogy, the buses come, if you get on them, they're going to take you to their conclusion, and that bus is going to become more frequent as more demand comes. So if you have really negative, horrible thoughts, and you keep servicing those thoughts by following them and taking them to their conclusion and spiraling, right? More of those thoughts come. If you ignore those thoughts and just let them pass on by, like the bus comes, you don't get on it. You go, oh, there's the thought. Oh, look at it. Ah, it's gone, right? Rather than following the thought or engaging with it or identifying with it, you just let it, there's the bus. The bus is gone. Cool, right? Do that for a few months and consciously will the thoughts that you want to be thinking, right? The beliefs that you want to have about yourself. There is objective reality in the world, and there are things that are objectively true. But when it comes to who you are and your self-perception, it's completely arbitrary. Like you can't go, oh, I'm a billionaire scientist, fucking Iron Man moon boy, right? But you can go, I am a confident, happy person, right? I am a confident person. I am a social person. I'm a happy person. I'm a this person. I'm a disciplined person. I'm a motivated person. You can say all of that stuff, and eventually, once you believe it, it will become true. Because again, going back to the triangle, all of your actions are created by what's inside your head, right? So if you believe a certain thing about yourself, you're going to act in that way, right? If you believe you're socially anxious, you're going to act socially anxious. If you believe you're confident, you're going to believe you're confident. They all feed back into each other, the thoughts, the feelings, the actions, and the behaviors. So if you ignore the buses, eventually they stop coming, and those thoughts stop coming because you're not paying attention to them, and eventually you change the way that you fundamentally think, because you're going, I'm just going to let these buses pass by, and I'm going to get on the ones that are more favorable to me, and I'm going to and so those ones go out of business, and those ones get more popular, and it's a spiral. It's a spiral. If you're, so this is positive, this is negative. If you're all the way over here, it takes, like, you've been spiraling into this fucking vortex, and it gets faster and faster and deeper, and you're just like shooting down this tunnel of negativity. You can start to pull yourself back out of that, and it takes a while, but eventually the spirals get bigger, and then you're in the middle, and you have infinite possibility, and then you go in the other direction, and things become more positive, and the spiral becomes tighter and faster, and then all you're having is positive thoughts, right? And your perception of the world is better, and your beliefs are better, and the way that you act as a result of your beliefs is better, and then the results that come as the result of your actions, as the result of your beliefs, are better. And then those results inform your beliefs. And again, the spiral continues. So you think in a better way, and so you act in a better way, and so the results you get are better, which then goes back into how you think, and it completes the loop. And this is how the mind and the behaviors, this is how people work, essentially. And if you can understand that and pull yourself back from it and go, I am not my thoughts, I am not my experiences, I am the observer of these things, and I get to decide how I feel and respond to it, and then start to deliberately change that over a course of a few months, your entire life will change, right? So again, we'll read that post when it comes out in a couple of days. I think that is helpful. Yeah.
I used to be like always social anxious when I was like in younger in school, and I used to blush so many times. Like whenever
Blushing. That's
my name
cute.
was called in the classroom, oh, it was the worst experience. and and then I remember like going home and speaking it to about my brother, and he had the same thing. And we were like saying, "Oh my God, I'm way worse than you," and that only made it even worse because I even identified with it more than I should.
Yeah.
And the moment that I learned like social skills and at times when I talk to people, it didn't happen. I didn't blush. The more confident and like the more knowledge I created by not being a blusher, and then I identified with not being a blusher, and then I basically got rid of it just by not identifying with it anymore.
Yeah. It's also interesting that it's specifically about blushing. It's like if you become aware that you're going to blush and you try not to, you blush harder. And that's the same thing of like the don't think of the pink elephant. Like you can't get rid of negative thoughts by focusing on them and trying not to think them. You get rid of them by ignoring them or actively pushing them away. Right. So it's like if you want to get over it, it's if you want to get over blushing, it's like you distract yourself, you do something else. You replace the idea of the blush with something else. And in this case it's identity. So it's like you believe a different thing and so it doesn't even come in the first place. But it's like I used to have panic attacks when I was younger and I went to the doctor and I thought I had asthma. I'm like, doc, I think I have asthma. I'm having trouble breathing. What do I do? And he's like, when does this happen? And I'm like, oh God, it's happening now because I was thinking about it because it was a panic attack. And if you think about panic attacks, you have more panic attacks. And he distracted me. He's like, okay, so tell me about this. Yeah, tell me about that. And he's like, oh, and describe some of the things in the room to me. And how do you feel about that? And what's your favorite color? And within a couple of minutes, the anxiety had completely gone. He's like, you're having panic attacks. And he taught me. He was a good doctor. He didn't try to give me drugs or anything. He taught me. It's like when you do this, it's like your body is going through an experience where it's in a heightened state, and that like the actual chemicals themselves can take a couple of minutes to wear off, and that's normal. Like you're going to be in this state for a couple of minutes. But the sooner you distract yourself and take your mind off it, the faster you stop producing these like anxiety chemicals, and then eventually you will calm down. And because you're distracted on something else, you're distracted on something else. And the example that I gave in the post that we talk about these things is you are now manually breathing, right? Now everybody watching is manually breathing, and that can be a little anxiety inducing, but as soon as you forget about it and distract yourself, so you're pulling something that is a subconscious process into the conscious, and then you're manually breathing, and as soon as you forget about it, it goes subconscious again. So with blushing, with all these things, it's like if you just don't engage with it, distract yourself, replace it with what you want, then it goes away. Like don't fight it, don't push it, just replace it with what you want and it goes away. It's like erectile dysfunction as well. It's like if you have ED, the more that you think about the ED, the worse the ED gets. Yeah, maybe that's just me.
Yes, but in blushing, like you always have these morons who point it out. You know, like when I was blushing back in the days.
Yeah.
People always
and it reinforces it and it makes it worse.
So red.
Yeah, where attention goes, where attention goes, energy flows. Anything you're focusing your attention on is going to multiply, whether it's positive or negative. So remove the negative things, but by not by engaging with them, but by pushing them away or just ignoring them and letting them go, and then reinforce the positive things. Yeah. All right, I feel like that's probably a good place to wrap up. We're about an hour in. Unless there's anything else you want to talk about.
I had some questions, but I don't think it's gonna take a while to answer them. So I'll save them for next week.
Okay, so you do think it's good to say? Okay, that's fine. Cool. Thank you all for tuning in. The Discord server is discord.gg/self-improvement. There is a link down in the description below. I offer memberships. I offer coaching. This is there's some free stuff in there that people can engage with. Yeah, we'll be back next week at 5 p.m. local to Sofia. If you have questions, you can stick them in the YouTube chat or you can stick them in the submissions section of the Discord server. It has been a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining. I'm going to give it a few seconds and then click the stop streaming button so that it doesn't cut me off too early.